and welcome. My name is Stefanie Linhardt, Europe Editor at The Banker, and I'm here with Joseph Dayan, the Head of Markets at BCS Global Markets. BCS Global Markets is Russia's independent brokerage firm. It's the largest Russian independent brokerage firm.
Yes.
Thank you very much for making it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Now, in Europe, what we're constantly talking about is Brexit.
Yes, indeed.
In Russia, I'm not sure if it's actually such a big topic. Now tell me, how big an impact is Brexit going to have on Russia itself and the financial markets there?
So far the impact has been marginal on BCS's business and in the financial space in Russia. But that shouldn't be considered the fact going forward. We do expect significant impact on our business and on our counterparty's business as things evolve. I actually think that BCS is a good case study for the City of London, the importance of London. We started out around 5 years ago when BCS decided to go internationally outside Russia, and when we looked at where to go, we did the whole pros and cons, different locations, but it was really natural for us to come to London. And we started out with just a handful of people with no balance sheet in a small office. Now we're employing dozens of people in London. We have a $500 million balance sheet, and we are continuing to grow. So as the negotiations evolve, this can have a significant impact on our business, and we'll have to make decisions based on changes in the legislation, and the financial access, and so on.
So you would potentially think about moving some business abroad as well?
We seriously hope not. We would like it here. London has a world-class infrastructure from the financial standpoint, a world-class regulator, a very predictable and familiar legal architecture. We've been doing well here, and we want to continue to work in the London market. That said, London historically has always been an access point to all the world, basically. It's kind of interesting how London morphed over the years. If you wanted to trade in a place like Russia, but it's not necessarily just the Russian market, if you wanted to buy a ruble, you usually came to London to trade in the OTC market. If you wanted to buy Russian credit, you usually came to the OTC market to trade Eurobonds. Even if you wanted to buy an equity, you came and bought those depository receipts that are listed on the London Stock Exchange. So it was a natural place. It's a great access point. It's a natural place for us to be, and we hope we'll be here for many years and continue growing.
Now, Brexit aside, there's also Donald Trump, the other big figure, I guess, at the moment. There's been a lot of talk, again, about Donald Trump and the relationship to Vladimir Putin. Has there been anything so far that has actually changed, any change that Donald Trump has made in Russia? Well,
so far the velocity or the trajectory of kind of the shift in relationships between Russia to the West, it's not only the US, it's also the EU, has been not in kind of the bullish trajectory. There was in a window of opportunity this first quarter to have some kind of official sanction relief. That fell apart with some changes within the Trump administration, with General Flynn leaving, people like Fiona Hill, which was nominated today as the Secretary of State Director for Europe and Russia, which is a bit more hawkish towards Russia. So it seems like anything immediate is not really on the agenda. There is an opportunity that we'll see some shifts in Europe that will instigate some moves on the sanctioned side. But that said, if you look at the problems that Russia has been facing in terms of sanctions, there's the official sanctions, which are called level 3 sanctions, that are limiting financing in particular for Russian institutions. But there's the unofficial sanctions. Global clearers, bulge bracket, tier 1 financial institutions that just avoided the Russian market. Since Trump came into power, that has completely eased. You're seeing lots of these service providers that were looking away from the Russian market, were trying to avoid the Russian market, are now coming back. So on the unofficial restrictions that you had on Russia, those are easing. In terms of actual sanctions relief, we'll see how this progresses. There's a window of opportunity in July. That's when the European Union sanctions lapse. But it really does depend to a certain extent, not on what happens in the US, but what happens in Europe. We have elections in France, and I think in April, May is the second round, or whatever that is. And we'll see who wins. If somebody like Fillon or Le Pen win, and nobody expected Brexit, then we'll have a better chance in June when the European Commission meets to have some kind of official changes. But we're not banking on that. We think something might happen this year, but it probably will roll into next year, unless something dramatic happens. But Donald Trump is in power, so everything can happen.
Anything can happen. Now, what would you say, how would you describe the Russian market so far in 2017? Because we've seen some IPOs, there's been some movement. What's that all driven by? Well,
there's been a great calendar so far. So we saw, it started out actually towards the end of last year with Alrosa opening up the market with the secondary in the Moscow Exchange. Detsky Mir, which is a good children's retailer, placed around 300 to 350, depending how you account for the green shoe, in London. And we had another long list. Well, we had Rusnev, which we were book runners on, $500 million placement in Moscow, and the list goes on, Severstal, Rusal, Rusagro, etc. The reason why this happened is what I was mentioning in terms of the perception of kind of Russia being a pariah market, unofficial sanctions, but it's also based on sound economics. Russia is showing modest growth. We're seeing corporations printing very nice earnings growth in the magnitude of 30–40%. And the physical and monetary situation in Russia is very robust. So Russia is becoming a more and more attractive place to do business. We're seeing a great calendar on the equity side. We've got the 2 IPOs in the pipeline. We're seeing even a more robust calendar on the debt side with a lot of DCM activity happening.
We're looking forward to an interesting year then. Joseph Dayan, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.